deal with it. Now, our next guest is June Kinoshita. She's the director of research and patient education for the FSHD Society. I mean, she doesn't really need an introduction. I mean, this is June. I mean, everyone knows June. Talk about when I mentioned to Scott, kind of the rock star superstar. This is another one right here. I don't know if June ever sleeps, to be quite honest with you. I just think she might like sleep an hour here or there, and she just keeps working hard and doing what she does for the FSHD Society. We welcome her now. Hey, June, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
That's good. That's great. So, talk to us a little bit about if there's been any highlights, right, of 2020. Is it hard to find them? Can you talk about them? I know people want to hear some bright side of things that have been going on in such a crazy year.
Well, absolutely. My heart goes out to everybody who's isolated and who's been fallen sick or had loved ones, affected by COVID-19. I mean, it has really been a tough year, but we've worked really hard to take this sow's ear and turn it into a silk purse of kinds. It's freed us to do things that we always thought would be good to do. And this year we had no choice but to go like really build out our virtual community. So we started with sequester camp, and that really challenged us to think about, what do people need out there? They're all alone. How can we support them? And people in our community stepped up to help. We had week after week these amazing webinars, and I think so. That was a real, high point, I think, of this, and it's evolved into FSHD University. So we're continuing this, but really developing this part of our website, which if you haven't visited yet, please do and bookmark it, because it's kind of a place where we've compiled all this information on how to take care of yourself, what's the best medical practice, all our videos about exercise. We have this wonderful, Bill and Mitch, who've been sharing the exercises they've been doing. We have a whole series of those. We have Tina Duong from Stanford, who's done these wonderful short exercises you can do from sitting down at your desk. So all of those things are there. So we've just built up these resources for our community and put them together in a way that we've never had the opportunity to do before. And I think the Connect conference was amazing too, because we had twice as many people register and attend that than ever, before for our Connect conference. And, big obvious reason is it's really expensive to travel and go to an in-person meeting, but this was online. And, just to take that plunge and just see how people embraced it, and people came, and especially young patients who hadn't previously come to the in-person meetings were there in force. And so that was really exciting to see. And then I think one of the highlights, one of the most important things we accomplished this year was the Voice of the Patient Forum. And again, we had to pivot to a live stream rather than in-person meeting. But as a result, we had over 400 people on that day watching, calling, sending emails, and we put out an incredible report, which the FDA now is kind of touting as the gold standard. They're showing it to other organizations, saying, this is how you do, this is a model for how you do these patient-focused drug development meetings. So we were very proud of that. Our whole team worked so hard to pull that off, and we are so thankful to all the patients and family members who testified and really bared their souls. And often when you have FSHD, you kind of, a lot of people say, I'm going to tough this out, I'm going to put on a brave face, I'm coping, I'm adapting. But the reality is it's not always like that. You have your moments where you really feel a little gutted by what's happening. There are it's a tough disease, and for people to let down their armor and say, this is the reality, this is what it's like to live with FSHD, took, I thought, incredible courage. It was incredibly moving to me. And to many people, even experts who knew FSHD really well wrote to me and said, I learned things I never knew, even after treating patients for 20 years,
Wow.
because they were saying things that they wouldn't necessarily even tell their doctor.
Right.
So that was, just took incredible courage, I think, for people to do that. And a couple of things that came out of that, which I think were so valuable for our community, is one, we realized how important mental health is in this disease. Um, it's, obviously the muscular weakness and all the physical symptoms are really hard to live with sometimes, but the mental pressure of, just how you cope, but also with, it progresses, it gets worse, and you have to go through a whole cycle of loss and, you know, anger, denial, all those stages that people may go through, and it just never stops. Maybe there are long breaks in between, but it really takes a toll. And I don't think, I've never seen a medical textbook that says that's a very significant part of the burden of living with FSHD. And so when we saw that so clearly, and patients themselves probably don't say that when they're asked, like, how does this disease affect you? They're probably focused on, the walking and so on. But we just heard so clearly. So we started a wellness hour, and we put together a mental health working group within the society with, we have some amazing psychologists and counselors. You've had many of them on your radio show, like Jen Egert and David Younger and the Proleltenskys and Kent Drescher.
Yeah.
So we formed a working group to say, what can we do to support people more fully in the area of mental health and wellness? How do you develop resilience? How do you have a sounding board? You have people to listen to you when you're like feeling down. How do we support people? So that we've started every month, and we've added like readings just as a way to get people to maybe consider one aspect of living with disability or living with FSHD as a sort of catalyst to start a conversation. And those have been so rich and wonderful. And if you're out there listening and haven't had a chance to participate in the Wellness Hour, it's such a affirming and wonderful experience. It's every Monday, second Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So I hope we'll see more and more people gathering. It's just, people have fun, they laugh, they, cry, it's very, I say it's a very uplifting experience. And we're now doing the same thing also for caregivers. We call it Share Giver Hour because we feel that when people are in a relationship and someone in the family has FSHD, it's not like all of a sudden the person with FSHD is just a recipient of care and everybody else is, caregiving. It's a sharing process. It goes both ways. Just because you have FSHD doesn't mean, you still have agency, you're still a provider, you're still caring for other people in your family. You're not just, put in a box as a patient, you're still a full person. And so we call it Share Giving Hour. But we do know that, if you're caring for someone, you have the things that you stresses on the person, taking care of someone with or the family member with FSHD. So we started the Share Giver Hour, and that's also, we hope people listening out there, if they're in that position of having a loved one in their family with FSHD, they can join us, and that's fourth Mondays of every month.
Yeah, we've
So,
we've added a lot to the calendar of events, monthly reoccurring things that people can look forward to, join the community, feel belonged, a part of it, feel like they belong. And that's been a huge positive in this crazy, year of 2020, because those things are virtual. I mean, you probably have a hard time doing those things face to face.
yeah.
So what's coming up, do you think, then? Are these things going to, sounds like they're going to continue and carry over into 2021? Is there other events that are possibly going to rise up in the next year?
Yeah, totally. So yes, all of these will carry on to into next year. Our monthly FSHD University webinars, the Wellness Hour, Share Giver Hour, And then we are also starting a series of Family Day conferences. So we've had them in the past, but we've kind of consolidated and kind of, we're now going to do them with the Clinical Trial Research Network sites.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
and there are 12 sites now across the country. We've really grown, starting with 7 back in 2016 and now 12 this year. And there may be even more coming on in the next year or two. But we feel it's really important for the patient communities in those regions to to really develop a relationship with their local clinical trial research network site. Um, you know, some of them, like Kansas, have a long history of taking care of FSHD patients and running trials. Others are new to it, and I think it makes a big difference. For example, in Florida or in Dallas, um, when those center directors suddenly see like a dozen or several dozen FSHD families show up
Right.
and say,
Right.
"We're here," it becomes real to them. It's not just a grant that they have and they're supposed to fulfill. It becomes, you know, you build relationship, and through that you build commitment to the research and the cause. So that's, we're going to be, you know, we're planning to hold 6 of them, I think, in 2021,
Wow.
and then
Okay.
6 more in 2022. So every other year, each clinical trial research network site will host an FSH Family Day conference. So we're excited about that. And another thing, you know, people have said for years, like, why can't I find a doctor who knows more about FSHD?
Right. Yep.
And even at the muscular dystrophy clinics, um, more often than not, the specialist, the neurologist there might be focused on ALS or Duchenne and really not know much more about FSHD than what they've studied in medical school. Maybe, you know, could have been 10 years ago and could be quite out of date. And, you know, I don't want to exaggerate that, but, you know, I think many people have that experience of, you know, why can't I find a doctor, and feeling like I know more about this disease than my doctor does. So we are right.
Absolutely.
So we are planning to start educating medical doctors, and you do this through a program called Continuing Medical Education, because doctors are busy. The only way you really get them to come and learn more about something is to provide credit, and doctors are supposed to take a certain number of these courses every year to maintain, you know, keep their license up to date and
Right.
so on. So we are going to start offering a CME course in 2021, probably in the fall. And, you know, this is a longer haul, you know, but we're hoping to get doctors to come and take this course and really get themselves up to speed. We're going to line up, you know, a faculty of the world's experts on FSHD, on genetic diagnosis, on treating, on, you know, physical therapy and so on, and just hopefully really help raise the level of FSHD knowledge in the medical profession.
That sounds
So,
great.
yeah.
That is huge. That is a huge plus for those that have said many times, like what you just said. I know more about this than my doctor. You're right. You end up educating them a little bit, and then you feel just like this feeling in your chest, like, oh, this isn't gonna go right. You know, this isn't
Right.
gonna go well.
You know,
It is a rare breed, I think, especially of like physical therapists. I had one, and I know like Mitch Wade has become someone that's in has researched into the disease to understand then how to help people physically, you know, work through it. I had a physical therapist in my area that did the same thing. He did not have any clue of what it was. Told him what I wanted to do, and he actually prolonged my first visit so he could educate himself a little more on what
mhm,
to do and what not to do. So not everyone's going to do that, and it is frustrating when you kind of meet that wall of lack of knowledge in the
yeah,
doctor. You're like, wait a minute, shouldn't you know this? But
yeah,
it is rare, and which is kind of what puts us in this spot.
yeah. But I will say, you know, if you listening there, if you have a doctor who is open-minded and wants
Mhm.
to learn more, we've also created kind of a flyer that you can give to that doctor and say, here, you know, join the FSHD Society, so you can start getting
Yes.
emails and learning about the studies that are going on and learning about how to take better care of your patients and so on. So so we will, we're asking our patients to be part of that campaign to, upgrade or uplift their medical providers and their physical therapists and so on. So
Yeah, just lend them a hand. Help your doctor so they can help you.
yeah,
That's
obviously
kind
depends on your relationship with your doctor. So
of
you feel like that doctor is going to, but
right.
and that leads into, one of our themes for 2021 is activate.
Mm,
How can we, we've been activating researchers, like Dr. Harper said, like we got his lab going. We've been doing that for
yep.
decades, but we still have more to do, and especially activating our community, because we all know, there are family members like that, don't want to talk about it, or, just, I'd say, a good more than half, maybe three-quarters of the people out there who have an FSHD diagnosis just haven't engaged. They haven't connected. They haven't reached out to find a
Right.
chapter. They haven't signed on to get our news releases, news alerts and so on. And this is the time where people need to, should be doing that, because, but the challenge is, how do they know they should do that? Because we can't reach them. So,
Right.
so, if you have people, that who haven't engaged, or if if you're on Facebook groups and want to sort of just talk about, because I think when people do engage, generally it's a really positive experience
Mm,
for them, I think, and it can be life-changing for them. And so kind of sharing that to, help lower people's barriers and resistance
yeah.
to engaging, that would be something else that, all of you who are listening out there are engaged because you're listening, right? Um,
True. They
I
are here.
hope.
We want
Yes,
those.
they
All
are
right.
here. They're
Yeah.
getting our emails. You're getting our emails. But you probably know people, friends and family who haven't, and whatever you can. That's a big thing you can do, is to talk to those people. Maybe find ways to reduce their resistance and their fear about engaging. Um, in whatever way you know.
Right. We are a friendly place. um, we are friendly. We don't bite. The final question though that I wanted to aim at you, kind of that put it all together, package it up for us. The importance of like a Giving Tuesday event like this, and all the other great fundraising events we've had, the walk-in rolls, even like you said, even the chapter meetings, and all the things that were added in 2021. How important is it for people to get involved, either financially or if it's even giving of time? Is it
It's
on a day like today?
so it's so critical, it's mission critical. Nothing can happen without that involvement. Obviously,
Mm,
money is important. It makes the research happen. It makes it possible for our team at the FSHD Society, which, we are lean and fierce and incredibly efficient. We get so much done. Everybody has like multiple jobs,
sure.
but we're human. There's like, we do what we can with the resources we have. Um, and but people who volunteer, who help, you know I mean, we train volunteers so that they can go out, and we're trying to multiply our impact way beyond our size and our funding. And you know so stepping up to volunteer,
Mhm.
volunteering for research. And when we say time equals lives, and Mark was saying before, a lot of people say time equals money. But in research, money translates into time. Like, the more you can spend on a, obviously on a well-designed study, the faster it will get done. You can't believe how much time these poor researchers, the Dr. Harpers of the world, spend writing grants and raising money.
Mhm.
You know, if they didn't have to do that, or spend so much time, they could spend a lot more time in the lab and the work would get
Right.
done faster.
Oh,
If they had more money, they wouldn't be saying, oh, maybe can I get this study done with 20 patients, when really it really should be 40 patients, but I don't have the funds.
yeah.
We should support them so they don't have to make those kinds of choices, so that they can just get in the lab and do the work they do best, as fast as they can, as best as they can, and funds are what make that happen.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, June, for being here, supporting us like you always do. Make sure you get some rest. You got to get right back at it right away.
Well, I should be saying that to you. Thank you, Tim, so much for what you're doing. And thanks to everybody for listening and for your donations today, please.